Hey YouTubers, thought I'd try something a little new today. For one thing, me being in front of the camera. The other thing is that I'd like to introduce something that I'm going to be using here soon, adding to my planted tank setup. And that is, I am going to introduce a UV sterilizer. And I'm not talking about a UV sterilizer that you buy from the local fish stores now, well, I'm not going to use any names, but you know which ones I'm talking about, that you put in to take care of green water. And they're very good for that. They are very efficient at that. But what you need to know about UV sterilizers is, if you want to use them as a sterilizer, as something that is going to actually go in and kill off pathogens such as ick, viruses, and bacterial blooms that you get in your tank, other than just green water, and the bacterial blooms, the white water, milky water. You need something a little more substantial than the ones that you buy in the local fish stores, that are basically a power head with a little UV light attached to them, and you put them in your tanks and attach them to the side walls and run them at a high rate. And like I say, nothing wrong with them as far as getting rid of green water and maybe the milkiness if you get a bacterial bloom in your tank. But as far as them being able to take care of ick or other viruses or bacterias that might affect the fish, not so good. The thing about UV sterilizers is the higher the wattage on the bulb and the longer the dwell time of the water while it's in contact with the actual light from the bulb is what really determines what it can and can't take care of. In the case of this thing, I've had this for years. I just dug it out. It's still got a ton of dust on it. I used it in my initial build. The company doesn't even exist anymore, Startronics. But there are other companies out there that carry units that are similar to this. This particular unit uses a 15-watt sterilizer bulb in it, which I had to special order and just got it today. And it basically looks like your 18-inch bulb you put over a 10-gallon tank, except it's clear. The thing to know about UV light is that you do not want to look at it. It can do damage to your eyes. It is like the sun. It will burn you if you put your arm under it for any length of time, and for all intents and matters, if you put it under there long enough, it could cause cancer. So that is why it is encased in this big black tube, and you can't see the light other than if you have the hoses disconnected and you look down into it. The way this works is you have the outlet from a pump, whether it be coming from your sump or from a canister filter, or an internal filter that's pumping the water down through a hose. The water enters here, the bulb is down the center of this tube, and it runs around the bulb and everything, and then it exits here and back into the tank. You don't want to have a high flow of water over it. This is rated up to, I think, around 300 gallons per hour that you can put past it, and it will still do a pretty good job. I intend on running less than 300 gallons per hour past it. I will have it coming out of my flue valve, which is 270 gallons per hour, and coming through here and then exiting here and coming back in to return. The dwell time, the longer the water has that it is in contact with the light, the more sterilization that will take place as far as taking care of any outbreaks of ick or that kind of thing. Now, this will not prevent outbreaks of ick. It will definitely diminish the possibilities of outbreaks of ick. This doesn't mean that you put one of these things on and you'll never see a disease in your tank again, don't get me wrong. It will definitely cut down on the possibilities of. You still have to do your regular maintenance to the tank, your regular water changes, and keep things good and happy for the fish. This just aids in Well, it's kind of like if there's a big outbreak of flu in your children's school or whatever, and you keep the kid home for a couple of days until they get a handle on it instead of sending him to school, because more than likely he's going to get it, knowing that there's a lot of kids there that have the outbreak of flu. So kind of a preventative matter. Looking on the internet and checking around, one of the few places that I did find that carries the larger UV units is there's a site called AmericanAquariums.com that, as a matter of fact, they have a very, very informative area in there that you can read all about how UV light works, what it does, breaks it down into all the details. Tells you, why dwell time and the power of the light is more important, and why the smaller units are fine for taking care of green water and milky water, but do very little as far as taking care of any major pathogens. Recommend that you, even if you're not going to buy one, if just for curiosity's sake, you go check out that site and read up on some of that, because it can come in handy. Along with the pathogens, the stronger light also is very good about taking care of green water and all the other things too. I hope that maybe it might also help with some of the algae, free-floating algae that I got in my tank. I don't know if you can see with the camera, but I got a little power head that is giving some flow across the front of the tank, mounted right here, and it's covered with BBA. And one of my projects for the day, probably after this video, will be to take it out and scrub it up and get all the BBA off of it so that it doesn't infest more into. Otherwise, I have a couple little spots of BBA throughout the tank on certain plants, especially the Anubias over here, that I try to stay up with. And I am now dosing with new algae. I think my third dose comes, well, my third dose was this morning, as a matter of fact. I'm sorry. My fourth dose comes this coming Monday or Tuesday, and I'll be doing a regular water change along with that. As far as the rest of the tank goes, everything's going good. Did have a problem with some of the algae getting a hold of some of my Liguidia Cuba and the Limnophilia. I always mix these two up. One's aquatica and one's aromatic, and obviously this is doing fine, but the other one that looks very similar to the Cuba, it did a real number on these two plants, and I was able to just take the top halves that were closest to the light and trimmed, and I had to get rid of all the bottoms, and so you can see a few of them over there, and I'm trying to grow them back out along with these, which you probably can't even see them. We only have 3 little twigs down in there that I'm hoping that I can get to grow back out. Otherwise, everything's doing well. CO2 is pumping away. I got all my new hosing and extras in for the Fluval that I picked up recently, the used Fluval filter. So it's all got brand new parts and good to go, and pumping away, doing its thing. And like I said, I will be adding this UV sterilizer probably over the weekend. I have to water test it. Like I say, it's been years it's been sitting, so I got to put it all together with a new bulb and water test it and make sure it's not leaking, and then chop the hose and do the connections. It's just regular screw-on connections like you would have on your garden hose. So I can run down to the local Lowe's or whatever and pick those hose connections up to put in the pipe. But thought I'd leave you with that. If anybody's interested in UV sterilization, once again, check out the site AmericanAquariums.com. They have a whole section where you can read all about get all the details on UV sterilization, what it can do for you, what it's good for, and so on and so forth. And they do sell units there too. You can find them also on eBay and on Amazon and stuff. But if you want UV sterilization to help sterilize and take out and cut down on the viruses and bacteria in your tank if you've had problems with that, and that's what your purpose for it is. Like I say, you want to go with a bigger unit. Don't waste your money on one of those smaller units that you stick on the inside of the tank, and it's just not going to do what you want it to do. But anyways, everybody have a great weekend. I got a couple of projects I got going on this weekend, one of them being the UV sterilizer and a couple others. And we will see you soon. Thanks for watching.